The Wednesday week is sponsored by the Riverside Cafe, new outside bar now open on match days.
There's a chance here, a great save. Turner from McClare. Mike Hunt, a terrific goal by Sheridan.
Rexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble with saving that.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and a very well welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. That is, to be fair, far more upbeat than I am actually feeling. With me on the line today, we have Mr. Davies, first of all. Richie, old bean, how the devil are you?
I'm all right, yeah. I'm kind of not as depressed as I was about a week ago, but, you know, it's life's all right. Life's not bad, thank you very much.
To be fair, it's took us a while to get together to do this, hasn't it? Because
Yes.
if we'd done it straight away, it would have been a very different start to the show, I hope.
Oh, it would have been doom and gloom.
Also on the line, we have Mr. Marriott, James Elbean, how the devil are you?
Do you know what? I am all right. I had a couple of days of sulking. I booked a day off work just to sulk. I got it all out of my system, and yeah, all right actually. I don't think I felt as bad as I did after last season, after the playoff final defeat. Probably the fact that, you know, I've saved about 300 quid probably helps matters.
Well, some of us are still going to London, so
little things. Yeah, well, you're a pillock, aren't you? That's just silly. That's just rubbing your own nose in it.
I'm going to have a nice weekend with my children. It just means, right, instead of spending 150 quid on 3 tickets, I'm going to end up spending 150 quid on maybe an aperitif or 2, you know.
But just think, all those Huddersfield and Reading, well, all right, all those Huddersfield fans that you're going to see in London.
On the train, yeah, a bit right. Listen, on the day that it matters, they'll be the other side of town, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, but yes, it has to be said. If we had have done this podcast any sooner, it would have been an entirely different affair. I suppose we do have to have a little chat about the game, don't we, chaps? And get that out of the way. It wasn't brilliant.
It feels like that, doesn't it? Get it out of the way. That's
get it out of the way. We've got a new season to look forward to, but we do, being the professional podcasters that we are, because if we're known for anything, it's our professionalism. We do need to have a little waffle about it. I know everybody's read everything, everything's been said. I think we've all decided it wasn't brilliant, was it? We all got his hopes up so much when that first goal went in, just to have them dashed. But I mean, up until, let's face it, the own goal, things were going swimmingly well. I was very, very excited, as I tend to be, which is my normal state as a football fan. And it was going lovely, but then after that, it just was pants, wasn't it?
It just never got going for me. It was just it. The first half was just I was up for it, proper up for it. You know, I was like, the hairs on the back of my neck. I'd had a couple of moments of previous days watching James being a media whore that he is these days, and I had a little weepy moment.
Not now.
Watching
There's no
James.
media now. The media bit's been removed.
Oh, you're just a whore these
just
days.
a whore now, yeah.
And I was really up for it when we got in the ground, and it just didn't seem like. I don't know whether we just cancelled each other out, and I think somebody made a really good point about that we finished 4th and Huddersfield finished 5th, and it was goal difference and very little between the two teams, and that's how it ended up being over the 2 legs. Very little, but it was just a penalty shootout between us. Looked very tired, I thought, in the second half Wednesday. Not sure why, and the only way I think we're going to win that, but was by 1-0, and we had to hold on to that goal, and that was what I was sat there, and I couldn't tell you what the game was like as watching it as a neutral. I don't know whether it was a crap game or not. With hindsight, it probably was, but it was just I went through every emotion on the night, just to the end, and so when they equalised, I kind of got this inkling when they equalised, that was it, done.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think my night was exactly the same as yours in that respect. And I mean, I know I say this about a hell of a lot of games, but whenever I say, "Oh, I can't remember what happened," I'd had too many beers. Normally, you know, I'll at least watch the highlights before we do the podcast, so I can offer something. And I've not watched any highlights. I've not read any match reports. I didn't know until the Thursday evening who'd actually scored for us, because I couldn't remember. Even then, I was kind of loath to actually go on the Sky Sports Centre app on my phone to actually look up who scored. I honestly couldn't have told you. I really couldn't tell you. But I remember kind of how I felt. I remember being quite up for it. I remember feeling like the first half didn't really give much away. I remember at half-time still being quite positive. And then I remember obviously us scoring and everything being brilliant. And then exactly the same as you, Rich, as soon as Huddersfield scored, something inside me just said, that's it. Nah. We've blown this. Yeah. Even to the point whereby there were people around me that were up as we were attacking, and I was just sat there going, "This is pointless. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen." And I don't even know if I said this on the podcast. I probably didn't, because I think I'll have been accused of being quite negative. But I'd said to a few of my friends through the course of last season, when they said, "Oh, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to do the other," I went, "You know what? I think we'll make the playoff semi-finals, and I think we'll lose." And I think I'd convinced myself, I'd forgotten about that. I'd convinced myself that we were still on, that it was still going to happen. And then when Huddersfield equalised, it all came back to me, and I just thought, this is not our night. This is not our time. And the penalties, I just stood there. I didn't cheer for anything when the penalties were being taken, because I don't know. The back of my mind, I just thought, it's not happening. It's not happening. And of course, I'd have gone crazy if we had have won it on penalties. But I just had this niggling thing that was just saying, nah, forget it. And yeah, I mean, it was horrible. It was a horrible night, wasn't it? There's no other real way of putting it, really. It was.
No, that nails it. That nails it.
You know, it was. I think it's the first time that I've actually seen a penalty shootout live. I can't remember being at a game when there's been a penalty shootout before, and it's such a weird way of losing a football match, because normally when one team wins and another team loses, you expected it. You know it's going to happen. You know there's one set of fans that is about to celebrate when the whistle goes, and there's one set of fans about to, you know, make a quick exit down the stairs and out of the ground. A penalty shootout, it is literally in a millisecond that you know who it is that's celebrating and who's going out. And that's weird. You know, that was such a strange feeling. And you know, I wouldn't. It's not something I ever really want to go through again. I can tell you that. It's just horrible.
I think the only other penalty shootout I can remember was one in Hillsborough. I think it was against Watford in an FA Cup run at some point, which I think we won. On the orange, was the other one was Wolves away.
Of course, yeah,
Wolves away.
Pressman.
Wow.
Yes, absolutely. Featured on the intro music for the very podcast, absolutely. Yeah. But yes, at the end of the day, we're crap, weren't we? We had our chances in extra time, obviously, which I got so excited then as well, just to have my hopes dashed again. And like James said, I mean, I normally win, lose or draw, watch the match back in full. On the Wednesday or whatever they call it these days, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So I'm not going to bore you with highlights and all that kind of rubbish, because we all have, and I just couldn't. I'm sorry, but hey ho, it's done. It's dusted. Best of luck to Huddersfield. I do hope Huddersfield go on to win. I think that'll be cracking. I think what Huddersfield have done with the money that they've had and the job that Wagner's done has been cracking. So fair play to them. And, I do hope they win the final.
Let's be fair. I mean, they did a job on us, didn't they? I think that even their fans probably thought we're up against it here. You know, we thought this is it. You know, we've done our job in the first leg. We've just got to see it through now. We've just got to do the hard bit, and you know, score the goal, win the game. Not the hard bit, the easy bit. That's what I mean. Only the opposite of what I said. You know, so. It was, I think, surprising that they kind of did to us what we'd done to them in the first leg. They really stifled us, and I think if it was, if it was a battle of tactical minds, I think Carlos lost it, unfortunately.
Well, I was absolutely convinced that we were going to win that game, being the super duper happy clapper I am, and due to that fact, I had agreed to go on Yorkshire Radio the day after.
Radio
thinking,
Yorkshire.
This is going to be Radio Yorkshire, I apologise. The day after, thinking, it's been brilliant. I'll be able to chat about the match and talk about the final. And of course, it all went chuffing wrong, didn't it? So, being the brave soldier that I am, I went on anyway. And there was a Huddersfield chap on there as well. And he said that in the first leg, they thought that was a good result. They couldn't believe that we didn't just plough into them for the whole game. And then again at Hillsborough, first 10 minutes, first 15 minutes, we essentially sat back again and none of us knew what was happening. And the Huddersfield fans thought it was brilliant. They couldn't believe that they had this opportunity to come at us. And yeah, it frustrated the chuff out of me. But hey-ho, it's done. It's dusted. Let's move on, shall we, to Pastures New and see what happens.
Here's a question. Where would you find all of the following in one place? Chairs, tables, beer, Vic, James, more beer, Dick Yow, Eddie, more beer, and the rest of the Wednesday week gang. That's right, it's the Riverside Cafe's new outside bar. All of your favourite lagers, ciders, soft drinks and hand pump ales are now available outside. Come and see the gang and give it a try. The Riverside Cafe's new outside bar, now open on match days.
Right then, ladies and gents. So, there has been some news today. I personally think it's good news. We'll get your chat views in a moment. But of course, Carlos will be with us for another year at the very, very least as well. Personally, I think it's fantastic. Obviously, we know Fudge's views, even though he's not here. He's
bloody rubbish. The only reason I agreed to do the podcast tonight is because I thought Fudge was going to be on. We could have a right good ding dong, and he's bloody let us down.
That's why I was there for. I was walking around with the cards for every round. You know, that was my. They even put the special Mankini on just for it.
I claim victory by the fact that he's decided not to bother turning up. He knew that he lost, so he's not turned up, even though actually he won because he was right.
But yes, there are, looking through the Twitter feed this evening, it seems that 95% of the Wednesday fans on my timeline are rather happy about Carlos staying, which I am as well. You guys, what do you guys think about it?
Do you know what? In the aftermath of the semi-final, obviously the thought crossed my mind, there's a fair chance that Carlos is going to be going. And in the immediate aftermath, I probably wasn't that bothered. I probably thought, well, maybe someone new coming in might do us good. And if it had been announced that he was going, I probably wouldn't have, or I certainly wouldn't have expected to have been that bothered about it. Now, as you get to grips with stuff and reality kicks in a little bit, and the more I've thought about it as the week or almost a week has gone by, I start to realise that actually I really wanted Carlos to stay. That I think that we've said so many times over the course of not just the last season, but even the season before, when there were periods where we weren't winning games that we would expect to win, that stability is something that we've really lacked as a football club. And through the period where we've lacked stability as a football club, we've been rubbish as a football club. The period where we've actually had some stability is when we've really started to see some success. And I accept some fans will say that last season can't be seen as a success. That's just a matter of people's own opinion. Ultimately, stability is what makes a football club successful. So as time's gone on, I've actually become quite passionate in terms of the fact of thinking I really do want Carlos to stay, and I was absolutely delighted when the announcement was made today that he is staying. And it's twofold, and I put this on Twitter earlier, but I really believe really passionately in this, and that is that I'm not just pleased that Carlos is staying, I'm pleased at the fact that the chairman wanted him to stay. And they had the meeting and they talked about it, and the chairman said enough for Carlos to think he wants to be here, and vice versa. Because how many chairmen and owners do you see in football now? The first sign of trouble, they pull the trigger. And we said on the podcast numerous times that we don't really know what kind of chairman we've got yet because he's not been tested. He's not had that period of when things have gone really badly, and at another football club, he'll have pulled the trigger. We've seen that now. This would have been, no one could have argued with the chairman for saying, do you know what, it's time for a clean break. it's time for us to part company with Carlos. People might have disagreed with it, but I don't think anyone would have argued with it. They'd all have said, fair dues, yeah, he's had 2 years and it's not happened. You can understand why it'd be time for someone new to come in. The fact that we've got a chairman here who's gone out of his way to try and keep that stability, who's obviously said what Carlos needs to hear for him to believe that it's the right thing for them to continue with this project, which isn't going to be, yeah, these are the players that you've got, do your best with it. He's going to have said to him, yeah, we'll go out and we'll bring in what we need and we'll do what we need to do for us to make a real crack. Next season is going to be all about the top two, isn't it? It's going to have to be. And I'm just really pleased that when he's had his first really big test, that Mr. Chansiri has done what I would want him to do, which is stand by his man, stand by the project, stand by what he believes in, and move us forward. And that's... I almost feel a little bit emotional about it, actually. I'm just really pleased at the way that the whole way this has been handled over the last 7 days has been brilliant. The club they've announced it quickly today. There's no messing about. And you know what? For the first time today, I've actually started to feel a real kind of positivity again about football and start to think, yeah, I'm still going to hurt a little bit over the summer, but I feel that we're still going in the right direction. And we've got we've got another good season ahead of us. If we'd have gone up, it'd have been brilliant, but we'd have bloody lost every week. As it stands now, we can have a real good crack. We can have a real good crack at winning the league next year. That's what we've got to be aiming for.
The one thing I did catch after the match last week, I like I said to you guys earlier, I apologise for not coming to the pub because I really didn't feel like having a night of catching up on for a post-mortem, for want of a better term. And I had Carlos on the radio and I had a full interview and he sounded really dejected, and which understandably, and it shows it was hurting like it was for us as well. I woke up next day thinking, what's going to happen with Carlos? Obviously he'd given as much out that he was going to chat with the chairman this week and see how it was after he'd spent a weekend back with his family in Portugal. And I was in, I wouldn't say two minds, but I think either option, if he'd have decided he wasn't going to stay, then fair play, we start again and we get somebody else in and we start a project again. But I was quite keen for a third year to see how it goes because it's a win-win. If you come in and lose the first 5 games, then what's going to happen anyway. But Carlos has now got the opportunity to have a third season at it. If he doesn't get us up, then it'll be his time to go. I think he's had his go. Let somebody else, let somebody else come in and have a go at at getting us up there. But it's got to be we've got to be looking at automatics, and it's going to be a hellishly hard season next year because there are at least 10 teams you look at, probably 10 the 3 that have come down, because people like Derby, Wolves, Leeds, etc., who are going to really have a go at that division. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Absolutely, it is. It's becoming a more and more difficult league, isn't it? The more and more we're staying there. But
that's a good thing.
Oh, it's brilliant for football.
Yeah, competition's brilliant.
Exactly. But at the same time, it's because it's getting harder and harder to get out. Obviously, Hull went up, got a bucket load of cash last year, and now they're going to get a bucket load of cash for coming back down again. Wolves have got massive investment, as we all have been hearing about this season, and they've just been waiting to plough it into the club. There's a lot of money swimming around, and it's going to make it very, very difficult and very exciting for this club. But at the same time, like James said, if we'd have gone up this year, I think we'd have really struggled, and next season in the Premiership would have been awful. It would have been shocking. But of course we wanted to be there. Of course we did. But then we've got another year now, not to just build on the team we've got, but to essentially prepare for the Premiership as well, because it's going to be a massive transition. And hopefully, not just the club is ready for it, but the fans are going to be ready for it too, because it's going to be. We've been spoilt in the last 2 seasons. Whichever way you look at it, we've become accustomed to a certain type of spending and things, haven't we? And a certain type of football and what we expect from the club. And we've only had that for 2 years. And then if we go up again, we're going to get battered every week. and a defence is going to get hammered, and we're going to play defensive football every week.
But at some point, you've got to take that jump, haven't you? You've got to take that risk.
Yeah.
It's like when I did what I did in November with leaving my job, you take a risk when it's not guaranteed what's going to happen. So you've got to take that risk. And I saw a tweet from a Leicester fan last week, and I think it was 6. They lost a playoff semi-final on penalties, and 6 years later they won the Premier League. So come what are we on now? 2023, we're going to be Premier League champions according to that. So
bring it on. That sounds like quite a long way away, doesn't it? 2023.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
It's far below my time scale.
Struggling to think about the first pre-season game. I think what you say is really true in terms of the fact that of course next season is going to be a hard season. Whether it's going to be as hard or not, I don't know. You expect teams like Villa will get their house in order over the summer. Yeah. You'd expect Norwich to come back strong.
Villa
think that Middlesbrough will want to bounce back. Derby will want this to be the season that they turn things around. You even look at teams like Forest and Birmingham, who nearly went down, who will be going into the summer thinking, right, what do we do to turn it around so we've got a crack of going for promotion next season? They harbour ambitions, quite rightly, to be in the Premier League. They've both been there before. Why would they not? The one thing that we've got now that these other clubs haven't is we have stability. We have a chairman that's proved that he's not a renegade, that he does things the right way and the sensible way. We've got a manager that knows the club inside out now. He knows the fans and the fans know him. He knows the players. He knows what they're good at. He knows what they're not good at. And I think he's still been learning that over the last season and the last few months and probably in the last few weeks. But we're going to be in a better position than any other club in the league in that regard. There's no one that's going to have more stability than we are. And we saw last season that worked really well for Brighton. And not everyone is Brighton. I'm not saying that therefore, if Brighton have done it, therefore we're definitely going to do it. Yeah. But, they were absolutely devastated after losing the playoff semi-finals last season. They really felt that it was their time. And clubs can crumble away after that, and they can really struggle, or they can do what Brighton did, and they stand by their principles, they stand by their manager, they stand by the players that got them to that position in the first place, and with a couple of tweaks, and they won automatic, and they should have won the league. It was silly that they didn't really. They really kind of took their eye off the ball in the last few weeks of the season. So I see no reason why we shouldn't be talking about us doing a Brighton. I really don't. I think that there's no real cause for us to have to lose any players that we don't want to lose this summer. We can bring in the right people that strengthen it. We didn't use the loan market very much last season, and maybe that's something we need to look at again for next season, whether or not that gives us that strength that we need in terms of quality that at times we lacked a little bit. And we can have a real good go at it. And I don't think there's going to be many teams in the league that have got that have got that positive thing around them of having that stability.
Absolutely. It's going to be an interesting ride. Obviously, we'll dig into the transfer things in more depth throughout the pre-season. But obviously, looking at the transfer themselves, it looks as though we got 7, 8 players out of contracts. Smith, Dawson, Sasso, Lackman, Dielna, Amalioson, Samido, and Hugo Sugu.
It's about a 50-50 split there, and who's staying and who's going.
Well, Wildsmith, I'd expect him to hold on to him with Shackle and Jane. Yeah, and Dawson as well. I think they've been cracking. Sasso's an interesting one.
See you later.
Meh.
On your way.
Meh.
Just not good enough. And we've got to be aiming for a higher caliber of defender this summer.
You need 3 really good centre halves, I think, and one that's pushing the other 2.
Would Sasso be the sort of squad element? If we were to keep Sasso, but then bring in a really, really... Because we do need to bring in a...
What's the point in keeping him then?
Because when he has played, he's played well, if you like. He's had his moments. Defensively, he's been all right.
He's definitely had his moments.
He made one really shitty mistake, let's face it.
It's not good enough to get us promoted.
But then, is it a case that he would be backup? If we did bring in an absolutely corking, first-class, wonderful centre-back, and Sasso did drop down the pecking order but stayed at the club, I'd be quite happy with that if he was a squad player. If you like, I wouldn't want to see him there every week.
The problem with squad players is at some point they need to be used. And the opposition don't go, oh, well, he's only the backup, so we'll go easy on him. It doesn't matter if it's the backup or not. If that player is starting the game, they've got to be good enough. And, there are parts of Vincent Sasso's game that I like, but he will cost us points over the course of a season if he has to play games. We'd be keeping him as a squad player thinking, well, I hope we don't have to play him. And that doesn't make any sense. That's a ludicrous situation in football.
What's the point in having a squad player
than that?
Who's not going to challenge? If he's not going to challenge, there's no point having him.
He's not going to challenge. This is a young chap.
I don't want him to challenge. I don't want him to challenge.
But if you look at players like Harry Kane, for instance, he wasn't challenging for anything at all at one point, but he loves football, and over the last couple of seasons he's come on leaps and bounds. Nobody thought that Harry Kane was going to be the Premiership top scorer 3 years ago. Nobody. But then he worked bloody hard.
You think Vincent Sasso is going to be the Premier League top goal scorer in 3 years?
I'm not saying he's going to be the Premier League top goal scorer, but I'm saying I see in his football massive potential. I would be happy for him to be a squad player, work on his game whilst he's with us, because when he did play last season, I can only think of one mistake. It was a big chuffing mistake, don't get me wrong.
I think we need to be aiming higher. Better.
For squad players?
Yes.
So you want to spend millions of pounds on squad players?
No, but I don't want to have players that it's absolutely pointless being on the wage bill. On the wage bill.
I think Sasso is a perfect
I think you
spot.
can summarise this with if Semedo is given a new contract, then I think we would all say, well, we don't really want him to be playing every week, but as backup, he does his job, and he does his job pretty well. He's a solid backup. He does what he needs to do, and if it means just kicking the crap out of someone to stop them getting past him, then he'll do that. And we've seen it in the games that he's come in over the last 6-7 weeks of the season. He's a reliable backup when we need him. Vincent Sasso's the opposite of that. He's an unreliable backup. He makes mistakes and he costs you goals, and ultimately goals cost you games.
I think you remember in the bad bits.
Well, I am remembering the bad bits, but the bad bits are there for me to remember.
But so are the good bits. You're just choosing not to. You're a very negative person.
Let's the more controversial one for
me. I've been accused of that in terms of my football supporting. But okay. I'll take it for once.
The most controversial one for me, and not controversial isn't right. The most subjective one would be Semedo, head and heart.
I put him in a coaching role.
Isn't it?
I think it's a bully situation. I do.
I do as well, but I think he's only 31. He's still got. You can't pay a coach. I don't know what. I don't know what reason. Let's say he's earning 10 grand a week. I'm sure Lee Bullen don't earn 10 grand a week being a coach.
Really?
But he's going to be on.
He's going to be on.
He's going to be on. But he's going to be in that high thousands, which you're not going to get as a coach.
I think he's going to be about 5, if I'm honest.
For me, it's one of those situations where I will say we all saw the photographs yesterday, didn't we, of Carlos and Mr. Chansiri having their meeting, and then we saw the one a little bit later on with the guy who looks a little bit like Matthew Kelly. And they're all sat, and we assume that was talking about who do we want to keep, who do we want to let go, who are our transfer targets, who we putting bids in, and they go away and they make it happen. If Carlos and DC have sat down and they've talked about Semedo and they've decided that the amount that it would cost us over the course of the season is a worthy investment in terms of what he brings to us as a football club, then that's enough for me. I'll trust them on this, all right? Because I don't think that he's an expensive player for us to keep. And I think, if they say, well, we'll keep him, but he's going to play less next season, therefore he's going to have to accept a pay cut, and he's happy with that, then I'm happy with that. Because I don't know what role he plays in the dressing room, but I get the impression it's a very important one. And if they think that's worth a certain amount of money over the course of a season, even if it means he's not going to play very much football, then I'll trust them on it, and I'm fine with that. And I know there'll be people that will be screaming and shouting when they're listening to this, going, if he's not good enough to be playing, then they should. James Kay is an example of someone I know will probably tweet me when he listens to this, saying that I'm talking out my arse. I don't know what I'm talking about because I've suggested keeping someone that's not good enough to be playing at this level. But I trust the people that run our football club, and if they feel that it's worth keeping him, that'll do for me.
Absolutely. And I think I know the answer to these other questions, but we'll just say them. Yes or no, chaps? Lackman,
See ya.
Delner,
Ta-ra.
Who are you?
Sugumugu Chugumugu.
Ooh. No. He did score. He did score a goal for us, didn't he? Quite early on.
I think he scored a few.
When he first came.
Yeah.
But no, it's got to be farewell, goodbye. Can we add some more names to it as well? People that aren't out of contract that we need to shift out.
One other quick one that is out of contract, but
right.
is an interesting one. Emmanuelson, because we've seen him in one game, and in that one game, I thought he played quite well.
Yeah.
No, he's got to go. I think it was a panic. It wasn't even a buy, was it? A panic contract? That was it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's obviously
not worked out.
Something's not been quite right, has it? So I think he's got to go.
And just to finish off the people that are on the bike, if you like, is Mr. McManaman and Mr. Buckley have also obviously put back to their parent clubs after their loan spells have come to an end. Would you like to see any of those chaps back at the club?
Buckley, no. McManaman, I think I expected more of McManaman, you know, and I don't think we've really seen. I don't think he's had a chance to show anything, but based on what we've seen, it'd be a no.
You'd like better, shall we say?
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
So. Yeah.
No, that's fair enough. Absolutely fair enough.
It's a really tricky one, isn't it? It really is, because I think we were excited about him coming, and I wanted the lad to do well. For me, he felt a little bit like last season's Aidan McGeady, where he kind of come at the time of the season where you just think, oh, it's that little bit of quality that we need that's just going to get us over the line, and then it never really happened. And I think a few people have kind of said that they just question whether or not there's a temperament problem with him, and I'm not just talking about on the pitch, whether off the pitch in training, everything's not as rosy as it might be. And the kid's obviously got talent. But for me, I just wonder whether or not we're just better off without. We're better off staying away.
Absolutely. Right then, chap. So James, obviously you mentioned a few ifs and buts about other players that aren't coming to an end.
Yeah, so I didn't realise this, but two players that have still got a year to go on their contract that you would assume that we're going to be doing our absolute best to ship out. And one is Mello, who obviously went out on loan, didn't he, for the second half of the season. And the other is Lewis McGugan, who's still got a year to go on his contract. And is, I mean this with the utmost respect to the guy, because he did a lot of good stuff for us the season before last. But at the moment, he's just swallowing a wage up, isn't he? Because he's doing nothing, absolutely nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Surely, someone like Bolton that's just got promoted, or there's got to be someone that would want to take this. I'm not even bothered about getting a transfer fee. Just get him off. Get him off the
wage bill. Yeah,
we need him off the wage bill. Same for Mello. We've got to be prepared to take the hit that we've got to let them go for nothing. Just get them off the wage bill and trim the. Our squad last season was ridiculous in size, but actually half of them just weren't very good. So they had to go. An interesting one then is Lucas João, and I'd be interested in what you guys think about that, and also Atinuyu, where we stand on that one.
Well, obviously, that has to stay. Obviously,
why?
Because he's Atinuyu. To me, he's a Samido figure for the dressing room, and for a certain section of the fans.
Would you want him as a coach?
I'd like him as Aussie Owl, basically. I think we should have a special...
Certain people will not be happy with that being inside.
Yeah, I've had this argument on Twitter a million times, and right now, his job essentially is no longer a striker. It is somebody that comes on the pitch when we're winning with 10 minutes to go and keeps the ball up the field, which he does incredibly well. That's his job now at Sheffield Wednesday. He's not there to score goals.
If we're going to get to the Premier League, right, we need to start looking at better players. Without a doubt, I think we need personally now. And this is where we can, talk about what I kind of think. I've seen people asking for about 6 or 7 different players. I'm not sure it's quite as much as that we need, but we need 3 or 4 really good quality players. And if he's going to invest this type of money he did last year, then 4 or 5 million on a player or whatever, 3 or 4 players like that. I think, but good ones, not just average Morati Nuyus. Who clearly aren't good enough to start, and I think you could have better players than him on the bench as well. I think we've
got them. We're an abundance of strikers, aren't we?
Nuyu's that mid-championship kind of player for me, not the top end of the Championship where we need to be fishing and want to be. And I mean, what position you guys think we need to kind of fill next season?
I'd like to see some more advanced wing backs, shall we say. I would like. Don't get me wrong. I think Padille's done a cracking job. I think Morgan Fox has done a great job when we've seen him as well. I think they both played really, really well. I'd like to see the next level up. And those two to be pushing that player. Exactly the same with Hunt on the right-hand side. I think he's a cracking player. He bombs on. He's full of passion, love him to bits. But I would like to see the next level up to him and him being the player pushing to get back in the side, if you like. And that's no disrespect to those chaps whatsoever. I think they've done some belting jobs this season. But I think our wing-back game, which is like, to me, it looks as though that's how Carlos likes to play. I think we need an upgrade to those positions. But with those two as bare minimum talent, if you like, squad players.
Also, would on that subject, and this might be something actually that we just want to say, right, okay, let's box this up and talk about it in a minute. But me and my friends were talking about how well or otherwise the idea of playing three at the back would work for us moving forward, and looking at certainly Reach on one side, possibly Hunt on the other, or an upgrade on Hunt on the other, playing as wing backs. And I was playing with three centre halves. We've got Lees, we've got Hutch, who's quite well suited to being the three in a back three, and then another and Leuven's as backup, and Sasso on the bus on his way home. Would that? Do you think that would work for us? Is it worth us exploring? Is it worth us talking about? I don't think Carlos will do it. I think he'll do it for a second. But it just feels like with the squad that we've got and the way that we want to be able to pack the midfield, we're playing three at the back allows us to do that, and we want to be able to play two up front, and again it allows you to do that.
Is that trying to fit around the players we've currently got though? Is that trying to? Or are you talking about having a different system?
Well, I think it's a potentially a system that would work better for the kind of football that we play, because how many times have we sat here and said that we generally play better when we've got Hutch playing in that deep midfield role, because it means the fullbacks can bomb forward and then Hutch can drop back and play as a third centre half if we get caught on the counter. Well, all this is doing is saying, well, make that our style of play.
I think for me, it'd be the diamond in the middle and the fullbacks pushing on, so you've got Hutch dropping back, and that's pretty much how we play now, isn't it? But then that becomes what do you do with three midfield? I mean, we tried playing three midfielders last week, central midfields I'm talking, in Lee, Hutch and Bannon, and I'm not sure it works. You kind of lose your width then,
But Bannon's not playing. He wasn't playing as a central midfielder, was he? Really?
No, that's what I'm saying. But by his actual position, he is a central midfielder. He was playing out of position, playing wide.
Three at the back, though. Maybe that would essentially
absolutely,
packing the midfield. And I also think that Carlos would like to do that as well. I don't know if he would be allowed to, if you know what I mean. Because playing three at the back these days is seen as progressive football, isn't it? Which is really super exciting, which is fantastic. I'd love to see it. I don't know if the fans would make the transition very well.
I think now's the time to reinvent ourselves a little bit, because we had a great first season. Last year we got found. People, wasn't that plan B that we talked about. People found us out by parking the bus.
Yeah, more points.
So we need to reinvent ourselves for next season to be something different.
See, that's another thing that's slightly annoyed me, is that obviously this talk about we didn't play as well this season, but yet we got more points, more wins.
Bizarre, isn't it? It's crazy.
It's stupid. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And that's why Carlos is still at the club. It's as simple as that. We did better than we did the season before.
Yeah.
Yes, the last bit was disappointing, but overall, we achieved more in Carlosisms. But, I mean, obviously, Jay, you brought it. What would you like to see? Would you like to see three at the back? Is that your preferred? Would you like to get excited?
I don't know. I mean, whether or not... I don't know if I'm doing that age-old football thing of just throwing some shit at a wall at the moment, because you think, I get the argument of the fact that we finished with more points, we finished higher up the league. Ultimately, we finished further away from the Premier League than we did the year before. In fact, we didn't really get particularly close to the Premier League this season. There was no point where we were a few minutes or a goal away from it as we were the year before. So at the moment, I'm kind of thinking something's got to change next season. We've got to do something differently. Can we just go out and set up the same and hope that things just go a little bit better for us? A couple of things about that team and about the system and about our mentality and the whole thing just need to change a little bit. And I'm not saying we should go back to playing how we did the year before, because I think we got found out. I'm not saying that we should play super negative football. I don't know what it is, whether it's a changing formation, whether it's a changing system. I don't know. But I'm interested in the idea of playing three at the back. When I think about the players that we've got and the way actually that we tend to, when we play well, the way that we tend to play, there's this thing that's just kind of saying that could work for us. But I'm not a football expert. I'm not a football manager. I don't. I'm sure there'll be someone now that's probably listening to this shouting at the speaker saying the reason that we won't be able to do that is because such and such. And I go, oh right, yeah, I didn't really think about that. We'd get found out and we'd lose games. But maybe if it's a couple of pre-season friendlies or something, it'd be interesting to see what would happen if we did explore changing to that back three system.
That's why we pick Carlos to be manager, for him to make those decisions. We just sit there and hopefully watch us win. That's our job.
Yeah, I think that probably you mentioned about the three midfielders against Huddersfield was probably a mistake. It was probably the wrong call. But I don't recall many people in the pub when the team came out saying, "Oh no, that's wrong. That's wrong." Everyone was saying, "Oh yeah, good on." But afterwards, everyone's quick to say, "Well, I didn't think it was right to start with." Yeah, absolutely easy to say in hindsight. But moving forward, I'm sure Carlos will be aware of the fact that can we just go out and set up exactly the same and just hope that things just go right for us next season? I don't know.
I don't think they will.
And I know we're sort of mixing conversations here as well, but just to quickly pop back to what you said there, Jay, if we had achieved the same level of success in the league that we did last season, we wouldn't have been in the playoffs in the first place. We'd have been Leeds, wouldn't we? So I do think...
No, we could never be that bad.
Exactly. I do think the point needs to be made that if we had finished on the same points, we wouldn't have been in the playoffs. So,
but this is swings and roundabouts, isn't it? Because you could argue that actually, we got as close to the Premier League as Leeds did. We might as well have finished where Leeds did. Ultimately, we didn't win promotion, so it doesn't matter how close or otherwise you come. Ultimately, you have a target, and if you don't achieve that target, then it doesn't really matter how close you get to it. Unfortunately, it's not worked. And this is not me having a go at Carlos or having a go at the players or anything. And I'm certainly not throwing my teddy out or anything by saying that ultimately last season was a failure because we didn't win promotion, which was the aim of it. You don't have an aim to finish 2 positions higher than you did last season. Actually, next season we could have that as an aim.
Yeah, be lovely.
But there's no way at the start of the season that Mr. Chansiri sat down with Carlos and said your aim is to finish 2 positions higher than you did last season. The aim was to get promotion, and we didn't.
If we had have finished 2 positions lower and not made the playoffs, would this have been a different news story today, do you think?
Of course it would, yes. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that we did enough last season for us and certainly for the chairman to still have belief and faith in the project. And in that regard, that's a good thing. That's a real positive for us that as fans we're able to still believe in what we're doing. And if we'd have finished in 7th where Leeds did, then we wouldn't have that faith. And of course we would be looking for a new manager now, and we'd all be pretty disgruntled as fans. I don't think we're disgruntled as fans. I think we're disappointed and we're upset and we're hurting a bit, but I don't think we're disgruntled. But I still, and it seems really harsh saying it, but I can't see looking at that season as anything other than a failure in terms of the fact that we didn't achieve what we set out to achieve. And there was a lot of positives from it, but the headline figure was that we were going for promotion to the Premier League and we didn't get it.
Absolutely. Right, then. Obviously, I'm sure we'll have a lot of discussion over the next couple of weeks. We are going to have a few weeks off, of course, but when we do get back into all this, the transfer news will be flying. I am thoroughly looking forward to our marvellous ITK accounts appearing again, which will be marvellous. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to be linked with Mr. Rhodes, are we? And to be honest, I don't think we really want to be linked with Mr. Marshall anymore, do we?
Can we each pick a player that we want to start a rumour about that we're going to get linked with?
I wonder if the rumour lounge might start up again.
Oh, that's a
I
good
don't
idea.
want to.
Can we
Funny that,
start it
isn't it?
now? Can we kick it up here and now? We each pick one player that becomes our new Jordan Rhodes, and all the way through the summer, every time we record a podcast, we'll make something up about how we've been linked to them. This is great. This is a test to see who actually listens to the playoff semi-final defeat post-match podcast. Whether or not when they've come back to us at the start of next season and they're like, oh, we've been linked with so and so. I think we should do that. I think we should each now be allowed to pick one player that we can make up crap about for the rest of the summer.
Right, fire away. You go first.
All right, I'll go first then. I'm going to pick Tom Kearney from Fulham.
Fantastic. Richie?
It's a good question. The only one I can think of is he's just gone up to the Premier League, and that was Dunk.
Well,
I'd love to see Dunk at Hillsborough.
I'm going to go big guns. I'm going to really, really be ITK, and I'm going to say Ross Barkley, because apparently there's some whispers at Everton that he's not too pleased, is he?
I love that.
So
Every chance of that one.
Clearly, he's going to want to come back to his lovely club where he had such a wonderful time. So I'm going to go Barkley. That'd be hilarious.
Whether you're celebrating a birthday, a wedding or anniversary, maybe you've passed your driving test, or you've landed a new job. Well, whatever your reason for a party, the Riverside Cafe is the perfect location on Catch Bar Lane overlooking Hillsborough Stadium. To inquire about hiring us for your function, call 07989 856 054 or 0114 232 6121.
Right then, ladies and gents, so let's crack on. There's not obviously a huge amount of other real Wednesday news. Just as an aside, one thing we did forget to mention last week, obviously the under-23s became champions of the world after winning their playoff final with Hull. Jay and I actually spent time at the football together, which was really rather unusual, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was very strange actually spending a football match with James.
First time we've done it, isn't it?
Yeah,
First time
after all these years of waffling about
together.
football. Yeah,
Did
absolutely.
Did he have his hat on? His loading hat?
No, I tweeted it actually saying I'm at the game with Lord Hillsborough, but no one will be able to recognise him because he's not got the hat on. He went in disguise. He went as a normal-looking person.
The thing is, when we actually met, James started singing "You Can Keep Your Hat On," which was very strange.
Was that after the game?
The thing is, it was a thoroughly enjoyable game of football. I don't know about you, Jay, but I was pleasantly surprised about the actual quality of the football that the under-23s were playing. Not just from a Wednesday point of view, but from the whole point of view as well.
Some brilliant stuff. Yeah, I thought that I thought that the lads looked great. I really did, and I think that when you go to a game like that, because it's it's a level or two below what you're used to watching. In fact, it's arguably a few more levels below, isn't it? So you sort of in your head you sort of account for that. So you sort of expect to see lots of mistakes, and you think, well, it's not going to be very good, but as long as we're a bit better than them. But you know what? I thought it was a terrific standard, really good. Comparable to certainly some of the football that we see in this country in the Football League. Some really good stuff played. I thought that obviously George Hurst it's the first time I've seen him play properly, other than bits and bobs kind of coming on in cup games and in pre-season friendlies and stuff like that is phenomenal. But the person that really blew me away, who I think has got immense talent, is Matt Penny, who is a seriously good player, and on the ball, one of the most confident and skilled players that I've actually seen in a Wednesday shirt for a long, long time. He could just waltz past sometimes 3 or 4 Hull players, and they just weren't able to get near him. He's one of those players that it feels like the ball is stuck to his foot. So it doesn't matter, like 3 players go at him at the same time, and he somehow manages to come out of the situation with the ball. And 4 or 5 times he went on some really good runs. So definitely that is a name for us all to watch and remember, because I think we might just have a little star on our hands there.
Yeah, I first saw him play for the Young Owls in Italy about 6 years ago, I think it was. We went on a trip with Wednesday Eye, and he was playing for the Young Owls, whatever team they were at that point. So see, and I don't really recollect a lot about him, but from what I've seen, now he's kind of really well regarded.
Oh, absolutely. There was some really, 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 really good performances. And I honestly wasn't expecting the football to be that good. And I was utterly, utterly surprised that it was. And in a brilliant way, of course. It was fantastic. And the coaching staff I thought were fantastic. And it was just a lovely, lovely evening. I really, really enjoyed it. And it has to be said, the celebrations after, I mean, how fantastic. I mean, I'm trying to avoid the word saying kids here because I'm getting to be a rather old man these days, and to me, these are young lads. But they really, really enjoyed themselves as well. It was brilliant, absolutely fantastic. And fair play to all as well because, again, a lot of their players, it was really, really good football. Thoroughly, thoroughly enjoyed it. So, yeah, well done to those chaps as well. Right, then, ladies and gents, so last little thing on the agenda really is the international watch. It has been announced that we've got a few players that will be playing for their country. First of all, the superstar, of course, Atinyu will be playing for Kosovo again.
He's going to score.
You just wait.
I'll
I'll tell you what's going to happen.
He'll get his second goal of the season.
See, what's going to happen here is they're actually going to play him as a striker and not a holding striker, as I've now renamed his position.
Because they haven't got any others. They haven't got anyone else. They've got
Yeah, and you watch. He's going to score 15 goals when he actually plays as a striker. It's going to be amazing. And everybody's going to love him again. And then when he comes, we can crown him the king of Hillsborough and things. It's going to be fantastic. There's been some interesting developments in the Scotland squad, hasn't there, Jay?
Yeah, so Barry Bannon is in the Scotland squad. Stephen Fletcher is in the Scotland squad. They were both in it the last time that it came around. The difference this time, there's no place in the squad for Jordan Rhodes.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's not started regular, has he, towards the end of the season, so you can understand that kind of in a certain... Yeah, can understand that.
I think
you just wait after the first game of next season. Do you think?
Yeah, it's not. It wasn't the best second half of the season for him, was it? And whether he ever fully got up to match fitness or not, I don't know. And I don't want it to sound like I'm making excuses for him because I like Jordan Rhodes. I do. I think that he contributes a lot. And you know, I'm glad that we've not really gone down the whole, you know, let's bash Rhodes because he didn't feel confident to take a penalty. I'm kind of not surprised because I think that the lads really had a bit of a crap time of it, and he needs the summer now, and he needs a pre-season, and I think that he'll be a star for us next season. I really do, and I actually think probably being left out of the Scotland squad is probably actually a good thing for him.
I'd agree with that completely, James. I think he a pre-season with us, and next season there'll be a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, and after the first 6 games, when he scored his first 20 goals, I'm sure Scotland will be banging on the door for him back after that as well, which will be fantastical. To be honest, I've not seen it announced, but have we seen anything about Mr. Badil and etc. being called about? To be honest, I've not really seen anything.
I've only seen the Scotland and the Kosovo.
No, yeah, I don't know whether or not. Yeah, the England squad hasn't been announced, has it? So there's obviously not all been announced yet. So yeah, there could well be more, and maybe by the time you're listening to this, that there may already have been a couple more.
The young England squad has been announced, and of course, Mr. Hurst will be part of that as well, which has become pretty normal now as well, which is marvellous. Love it, absolutely fantastic. So, of course, we all wish all the best to the Wednesday players when they're out with their respective countries in the summer as well. Right, then, ladies and gents, that's going to bring us to an end of this week's proceedings. James, if people want to scream and shout at you on Twitter about your outrageous views on the podcast this evening, where can we do that, Albie?
I'd like that. I feel like I'm a bit void of football debate at the moment. So yeah, you can get me at James Marriott on Twitter.
Fantastic. Dickie, oh boy, where can people find you over there on the Twitterage?
You can find me at Dickie Owl. I don't suppose I'll be talking much football for a bit. I'm having a bit of a a few weeks out. You might see a few pictures from our London trip this weekend. There'll be no football on that whatsoever. Just beer, food, and maybe a train full of Huddersfield fans on the way down, which will be interesting.
Fantastic. Of course, you can get hold of me over there at Lord H. That's EL0RD_H. To be honest, the only thing I actually tweet about is football because That's all Lord H exists for. So you'll be seeing all that nonsense as usual. Of course, you can get hold of the podcast at TWWcast as well. Please do, of course, get hold of Mr. Sausage Arms, Eddie, over there as well. Victoria, who is literally on the beach at the moment, which is why she's not here.
I think she just beat Alistair twice at pool. So, Alistair, you loser.
And, of course, Mr. Fudge, our ever-ready Mr. Fudge, who I'm sure will be screaming at his speakers, as James said there, because he would have loved to be on this evening. Why the chuff is not here, we don't know. But tell him, say, "Oi, Fudge, why weren't you on the podcast?" And I'm sure he'll call you bloody rubbish as well.
You probably can't. I think his account is still private.
Oh, of course, yes, he's still looking for a job. So he doesn't want prospective employees to see the normal.
So don't follow him at Dan Fudge.
There's going to be a huge queue as soon as he reopens his doors, isn't he? Oh, what an awful thought.
Oh, hey.
Bloody rubbish. Again, ladies and gents, we would like to say a massive, massive thank you to all the listeners. I know this bit's a bit gushy and all that kind of thing, and I don't mean to be, but obviously, from a podcast point of view, we have seen a big jump in listeners this season as well, and we really, really do appreciate you listening. Of course, please do ask if you've enjoyed this season, listening to our nonsense. Please do pop over there to iTunes. Just a little star, a 5-star review for all of the hours and hours and hours worth of bloody rubbish podcasts that we've done for you. It will be really, really very much appreciated. And of course, ladies and gents, be good, be safe, and we shall see you real soon.